Today we are talking about a phenomenon. I mean, not just a singer, but a genuine force of nature.
A cultural earthquake. That's really the only way to describe it.
Exactly. Someone who didn't just top the charts. He fundamentally changed the sound of music, redefined what it meant to be young, and maybe most importantly, he started breaking down these rigid racial barriers in pop music.
We're talking about Elvis Presley, of course. His impact was, well, it was sociological, not just musical. He was the catalyst.
He really was. But what we want to focus on in this deep dive is the trajectory of that career after the initial explosion.
Right. The moment the raw artist, that lightning in a bottle, met the corporate machine.
That's it. Our mission today is to really analyze the artistic trade-offs.
Yeah.
We're looking at the compromises, the crushing demands that came with building and maintaining the global brand of Elvis.
Especially once Colonel Tom Parker steps into the picture in 1956. We're tracking the man from that raw, rebellious kid at Sun Records to the tragic, spectacular figure on the Las Vegas stage.
So to set the stage, let's go back to the beginning, the roots.
Elvis Aaron Presley, born January 8, 1935, in Tupelo, Mississippi. The family was, by all accounts, incredibly poor.
But the environment was rich in sound, right? Specifically gospel music.
Oh, absolutely. The local church choir, that's where he soaked up that spiritual energy, that sense of performance that you see later on.
And he takes those sounds with him when the family moves to Memphis in 1948. He's a young guy driving a truck, dreaming of making music.
And even then, before anyone knew his name, he was standing out.
That look.
Yeah.
The slick back hair, the bright clothes, sometimes pink clothes, which was a statement. He was already signaling that he didn't fit in. He was a disruption just waiting to happen.
And that disruption found its moment in the summer of 1954. This is the birth of that raw power we were talking about.
The legendary moment he walks into Sun Records in Memphis.
The story goes he was there to record a couple of songs as a birthday gift for his mother.
A great story. But the owner, Sam Phillips, he was on a mission of his own. He was looking for something very, very specific.
He famously said he wanted someone who could fuse the soul of black music and the energy of white music.
Because at the time, the industry was completely segregated. You had what they call race music, and white audiences just weren't hearing it. Phillips needed a bridge.
And Elvis, with his mix of gospel, country, and blues, he was that bridge. He was the accidental missing link.
The moment he gets in a room with guitarist Scotty Moore and bassist Bill Black, and they just start jamming on Arthur Crude, it's like, that's all right.
Everything changes in that one moment.
They weren't trying to sound like anyone else. It was spontaneous. That blues rhythm with that country twang, I mean, that was the birth of rock and roll right there.
And when it hit the radio, it wasn't just a hit. It was an explosion.
And then came the physical part, the stage persona. This is what created the immediate cultural shock.
Oh, the movement. The rhythmic, almost hypnotic way his hips moved. Nobody had ever seen a white performer move like that in front of a mass audience.
It drove the kids wild and absolutely terrified their parents.
It was pure, unfiltered sexual energy. He was the symbol of youth rebellion. And the establishment reacted so strongly that when he was on national TV, they ordered the cameramen.
Only from the waist up. They couldn't show the hips. He was this uncontrollable, revolutionary force.
Okay, so let's unpack the shift. You have this raw, uncontrollable force, and it needs a handler, right? Or at least someone sees an opportunity to handle it.
And in 1956, that someone is Colonel Tom Parker. He takes the reins, and this marks the beginning of the whole trajectory we're analyzing.
Because the focus immediately shifts. It goes from artistic rebellion to brand management.
This is the critical juncture. Parker didn't just see a rock and roller.
No, he saw a commercial entity, a global brand just waiting to be built and monetized.
And his first steps are incredibly strategic. He gets him the big deal with RCA Records and immediately pushes him into Hollywood. The first movie, Love Me Tender.
And just like that, the rebel becomes America's most bankable star.
So the brand machine is officially running. But this is also where we start to see that artistic decline set in.
Parker's vision, which was almost entirely financial, starts to overshadow Elvis's musical genius, especially as they get into the 1960s.
Let's talk about the mechanics of that. Parker's business model was, well, it was brutal.
He famously took 50% of everything. 50. So to maximize his own revenue, he steered Elvis straight into what we call the Hollywood trap.
And it was a trap. I mean, we're talking about just churning out movie after movie.
It's unbelievable. Between 1960 and 1968, that 8-year span, he stars in 27 films.
27. That's more than 3 movies a year.
Commercially, they were a guaranteed profit. They were quick to make, easy to sell overseas. But artistically, the sources are pretty clear. They were a disaster.
He was literally trapped on studio lots, burdened by what he called constantly the same scripts, the same formulas.
Think about the titles. Girl Happy, Harem Scarum, Clambake.
Right. They're all the same. Kitschy backdrops, simple plots, and absolutely no artistic challenge. The music just became disposable soundtrack filler.
Which raises a big question. If he's the biggest star on the planet, why just movies? Why wasn't he doing massive global tours?
Exactly. If Parker is this brilliant global brand manager, why keep the brand restricted to North America for so long?
Well, the analysis really points back to the colonel himself. Parker was an undocumented immigrant from the Netherlands.
So getting a passport would have meant revealing his real identity, and he could have been deported.
Exactly. So he never, ever let Elvis tour internationally. He kept him contained and safe in the Hollywood studio system, where the licensing money was easy and predictable.
So the original revolutionary is basically put in a creative cage by his manager's legal problems and, frankly, his greed.
And if you put this in the context of what was happening in the music world at the time, the contrast is just, it's stark.
Oh, absolutely. While Elvis is making movies like Kid Galahad, what's happening outside?
The Beatles are redefining pop music. The Rolling Stones are doing their thing with the blues. Bob Dylan is changing lyrics forever. A whole revolution is happening.
And Elvis, the man who started the first revolution, is completely insulated from it. He's stuck in a time capsule. He was still the king, but he wasn't pushing music forward anymore.
By 1968, the brand was in trouble. The formula was tired. The public was tired of it. And Elvis himself was deeply, deeply unhappy.
Which brings us to 1968. If you want an example of a perfect strategic reinvention, it's the '68 comeback special. This was maybe the most important decision of his entire career.
It was a conscious rejection of everything Hollywood had turned him into. No more cheesy movie sets, just Elvis on a stage in black leather.
It was so raw. That rock and roll spirit was back. The message was just undeniable. The king is back. It proved that the artist was still in there.
And the public reaction was immense. The rebirth was complete, but this leads directly into the second and ultimately fatal phase of the brand's spectacle.
The Las Vegas International Hotel Residency, starting in 1969.
The scale just changes completely. The comeback proved he could still pull in an audience, so Parker immediately channels that into a high-volume, high-revenue machine.
And gone is the raw 1950s stage presence. In comes the jumpsuit.
The shimmering, high-collared jumpsuits, the costume of a legend, yes, but also the uniform of spectacle.
And those shows were huge. They were theatrical. And to be clear, his voice during this era was still just an astonishing instrument.
Oh, absolutely. But the focus was no longer on making innovative music. It was about maintaining a grueling, high-intensity concert schedule in one profitable, contained location.
And the global reach of this new spectacle gets cemented in 1973 with the Aloha from Hawaii concert.
Broadcast via satellite, it was one of the most watched television events in history. Billions of people. That one event sealed the global brand.
So the machine, driven by the Colonel, had succeeded. Elvis was arguably the single most recognized person on the planet, a total marketing success story.
But this is where the story splits, isn't it? We have to pivot from the splendor of the brand to the human tragedy behind it.
That success came at an unimaginable personal cost.
The demands were just relentless. Behind the shimmer of the jumpsuits, the sources are clear. The exhaustion of the constant tours, the endless demands from his manager. It all just started to consume him.
He went from being trapped in Hollywood studios to being trapped in a cycle of hotel stage, highway stage, over and over.
The isolation must have been immense, and it led to this sharp deterioration in his health and, of course, his increasing reliance on prescription drugs just to cope.
Just to keep the show on the road.
That's the core of the tragedy. The pressure was immense, and by his final years, the man on stage he was a shadow. He was swollen, tired, and you could see he was suffering.
And yet he kept going out there, night after night.
It was both financial and something deeper. The people around him said he kept performing because, one, it was what the Colonel wanted, and two, more tragically, it was the only life Elvis knew.
The man who symbolized freedom in the 50s became a captive of the very machine built around him.
And that's what makes the end so heartbreaking. August 16th, 1977, he's found unconscious at Graceland. He was only 42 years old.
A cultural earthquake, this incredible force, ultimately just crushed under the weight of his own fame and his own loneliness.
His death closed an era, but the legacy is just monumental. He's still the best-selling solo artist of all time, the phenomenon that changed everything.
And the thousands who still visit Graceland every year are a testament to that power. In all his glory and all his tragedy, he is and always will be the king.
So what does this all mean for you listening to this? This deep dive really forces us to look at the ultimate trade-off of the Elvis machine.
Colonel Tom Parker, for all his faults, successfully created Elvis, the global brand, the best-selling artist of all time, the legend.
But that relentless focus on brand maintenance, on spectacle, it meant suppressing the artist. It meant isolating the man. It meant ensuring he never, ever stopped working.
So we ask you to consider this. Did the Colonel's genius for marketing ultimately ensure the legend, or did it just accelerate the tragedy of the man who created it?